Hello, my movie fans. Thanks so much for clicking on episode Side Flick. My name is Chris. We've got some movie news to dive into here today. Some of the stuff we're going to be talking about here today is they finally released the first trailer for Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning. We got Jason Blum continuing to tease us about Five Nights at Freddy's, possibly letting us know it might be rated R. And something I'm really going to want to hear everyone's opinion on, we have details about how Namor is going to be portrayed in Black Panther 2 that involves an origin change. That along with so much more, so I'm going to need you guys to give me your opinions with everything we discuss here today. What interested you, what didn't? Are you excited for the Thor Love and Thunder coming out tonight? Most likely getting our first look at Christian Bale's gore. Very excited for that, so stay tuned on the channel for that breakdown. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive into it here. So we finally got officially released the Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 trailer when it actually leaked online yesterday. It was kind of odd that that happened, but anyone who did see the leaked version, the sound mixing wasn't all the way done. So there were moments of the trailer that sounded very silent, or the music wasn't really mixing with what was happening on screen. Now, of course, we got the official version, and I gotta tell you, this trailer just makes the movie look amazing. The Mission Impossible franchise just continues to go up in quality every sequel, specifically after Mission Impossible 3, where Mission Impossible 3 might be my personal favorite. But with this being the setup for the finale where it's gonna end the entire franchise, I'm really curious how they're gonna end it off, and Tom Cruise just looks as athletic and crazy as ever with some of the stunts he's pulling in this movie. I really like the direction of it. Haley Atwell popping up in there. It feels like the setup for a big finale, and I can only imagine what they have in store for the next one. So I'm gonna give this one a definite treasure. Really looking forward to it, but I want to know from you guys, what did you think of the first trailer for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning? Something I did make a YouTube short about, but I still wanted to go ahead and bring it up on SideFlick to give you some of my more in-depth thoughts. We got our first leaked look to what the live-action Snow White will be looking like in the Disney remake of Snow White. Now, these photos were released over the weekend, and you can see here Rachel Zegler in costume. And of course, I was not surprised at all with some of the responses here where people were super upset that they turned Snow White into a Latina, when the real thing everyone should be complaining about or talking about here is what they're doing with the seven dwarves, man, because that's what I'm most curious about with this movie. We see now what Snow White is going to be looking like, and she seems pretty much on point. But if you haven't heard, they're changing the seven dwarves into magical creatures. They're not going to be dwarves. A lot of people want to attribute that to complaints that Peter Dinklage did, where he complained that little people should not be playing stereotypical little people on screen because it promotes that stereotype. When yes, Disney did use that complaint of Peter Dinklage to go ahead and announce to the world that the seven dwarfs in Snow White won't be little people, that instead they are making them magical made-up creatures. It was something they were already going to do for the movie, and they just used that opportunity to make the announcement to the world. But I just am so curious to what these magical looking creatures are going to look like, because anytime you try fully CGI a human face, it just does not go great. And I feel like the seven dwarves are going to come off looking like nightmare fueled, because they're probably going to try to do all the exaggerated features on some of them with like the really big noses, long ears. That's what I'm mostly curious about with this movie. But I throw it off to you guys. What do you think of Rachel Zegler in the Snow White outfit, the change of the dwarves, and do you think they'll end up looking any good as fully CGI characters? Something else here I was never expecting to hear about, but I'm kind of down for, is we got the random news that the movie Law Abiding Citizen is getting a sequel. Now, if you're someone who has not seen Law Abiding Citizen, I kind of recommend this movie to you. I know it doesn't have like the highest critical approval, but I think it's still such an intriguing premise, where it's about a man who, after a home invasion, loses his wife and kids, and then during trial, the guy gets off with like a wrist slap, so the man decides to take the law into his own hands, and it just becomes such a crazy wild ride where you start to think to yourself, is the revenge taken a little too far, and are we now following the bad guy? Now, it says here Gerard Butler will be coming back as producer. I'm not really sure if they're going to bring him back in the movie, because if you've seen the film, you know how things kind of end for his character. That would make it hard for him to show up for a sequel. But I feel like they're not necessarily going the route where they try and get that character back, because they have here a small description saying the demand for smart, star-driven action thrillers in the marketplace is palpable. This is one of those rare, unexploited franchise opportunities that was too good to pass up. To me, that makes it sound like they're going to get another A-list celebrity, someone that can sell the movie on its own before you hear the premise, and basically just tell a similar story to that first movie, but with a different guy, a different situation, and him putting the law into his own hands to some crazy events. So if that's actually the route they go with it, and they could even bring Jamie Foxx's character back, who was a lawyer in that universe, I'd actually be kind of down for that. There were some twisted, crazy things they do in that movie, and there's always interesting seeing a character that you're rooting for, that you're following, that you think, this guy needs to get his revenge. Then once you see him start to get his revenge, you're like, Okay, maybe not that far, man. Let's tone it down. But I throw it off to you guys. For you who have seen Law Abiding Citizen, do you think it's a good idea to make a sequel or another movie on this franchise? Moving on here, talking about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, we just continue to get fed tiny little breadcrumbs until we get the big announcement of who the new director is, when is the release date for this movie, what is even the plot for the new script. The last thing we heard from Jason Blum himself is that we were dangerously close to an announcement, that something was happening. That was like almost a month ago. I don't know what dangerously close is in your book, Blum, but this ain't it. Well, out of the blue over the weekend, he decided to tweet out saying, "Listen here, all you FNAF fanatics," well, specifically the doubters, "stop doubting." He puts out another FNAF tweet here in a second, but just sticking to that one right there, I mean, if he's talking like that and tweeting that out, it probably means he's currently working on the story, the script, or what the movie's gonna be like, and he's thinking to himself, damn, this is turning out really good. Anyone who's doubting the FNAF movie is gonna have their heads rolling. Let me tweet this. Right? Because I can't just imagine Jason Blum sitting on his couch Saturday afternoon, eating some chips, watching TV, going, I'm gonna do a great job with that FNAF movie. Let me tell the world. No, the man just probably locked in a deal for the director, or read the script again, or saw some of the things that'll be going down in the movie, and it's like, people are gonna love this FNAF movie. So that's exciting. And then the fan went ahead and replied to the tweet saying, "Please make it as horrific as intended to be," with him saying, "It will be." Now that is interesting, because I'm very excited for this FNAF movie, but I also want to be realistic about who they can market this movie towards and how it could be a big success for Blumhouse. It should be no secret that a large part of the FNAF fan base are younger kids. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. People think when I say that FNAF can be geared towards kids, that's an insult, when I'm like, chill out. With that in mind, I always thought they're probably going to make the FNAF movie PG-13, try to push the limit with it. That way 14 to 16-year-olds can go see this movie and enjoy it. But then with Jason Blum saying here that it will be as horrific as intended, that lets me know they're willing to go with the R rating and really want to push it to some of those OG FNAF fans that have grown up now. Because, I mean, it's been a while. Some of you started playing FNAF when you were a kid. Now you're probably in your 20s. So I think that's super awesome if Blumhouse is willing to make this rated R, because now the potential for this film is through the roof. I didn't think making it rated R would make it a better movie, because one of the things that always interested me about FNAF was the lore. It just gets so crazy, so much history, so many little secrets get revealed every other game. I thought it'd be wild if they can actually tell a compelling story with some of that FNAF lore. But now knowing I'll probably see kids get bitten, or people stuck in the suits and the spring trap lock-in, the potential is really high now. But I throw it off to you guys. What do you make of these Jason Blum tweets? Do you think he's currently working hard at the movie and trying to make an announcement soon? And do you think him saying that the movie will be as horrific as intended hints towards an R rating? Alright, moving on here to some Black Panther 2 news. I am really curious to what you guys are going to think about this, but for the longest time with Black Panther 2, we had heard that Namor was set to make his first live-action appearance in Black Panther 2. We would see his city, Atlantis. We would find out more about other secret societies living in our world, and it could even be a battle of two kings, which all the more reason I wish they just recasted Chadwick, 'cause it would have been so awesome to see Black Panther versus Namor. I don't really know if they're going to do that. But it looks like what they are going to do is follow the trend they've been doing with a lot of their newer characters and change their origin story drastically. It got reported here by a Brazilian news website that Namor will actually be ditching the Atlantis origin and following more in line with Mexican culture. They have it here exactly. The character will not originate in Atlantis as in the comics, but in the Central American region, and will come from a historical city submerged in Mexican culture. In addition, he will be the son of a human with a queen of the submerged people. Tenoch Huerta will play the character, who will also be accompanied by a royal guard. The change must occur so the public does not confuse Namor so much with Aquaman, a character whose almost identical comic origin. He is half human, half Atlantean, and governs Atlantis. Having two characters with equal origins would complicate the understanding of the audience. The specific part of Mexican culture that they're going to be bringing Namor from is inspired by Aztec and Mayan culture. It's even said that they'll take inspiration from the real-life city of Tenochtitlan, which when you start reading details about this real-life city in our history, there's actually enough in here to make it gear towards an Atlantean-like world, because it was a city that was basically built on top of water and had really advanced water systems for their time. So now knowing that, the first time I heard about this yesterday, I heard it and I was like, what, really? No Atlantis? He's not an Atlantean? It's going to be more inspired by Aztec culture? I really sat there thinking to myself, I'm not sure if I'm down for this. I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm Mexican myself, and I've always been fascinated with Aztec culture. But then really thinking about it here, and the MCU wanting to differentiate themselves from Aquaman and not just kind of be a copy to the general audience, even though Namor first appeared in the comics over Aquaman, it kind of makes sense, man. Aquaman was like a huge giant success, $1 billion movie for DC. Everyone associates Atlantis with Aquaman when you're talking comics. And now I feel like there's this super creative thing they could do with this Mexican advanced culture. Like, we basically gonna see a Mexican Wakanda, an advanced society? That sounds pretty cool. So it took me a second, but I think this is like a great idea. I'm really down for it. And for anyone wondering, yeah, Chris, but it's just a rumor. We don't even know if it's true. Well, we got a first look at some crew member apparel that was gifted to the crew of Black Panther Wakanda Forever after the film wrap, which is like a common thing they do. They gift them with some stuff. And you can see an Aztec god on some of the apparel, pretty much confirming what we're hearing here and that Atlantis will not be part of it. So honestly, I'm really excited for this now. If we continue on believing what this Brazilian website says, it says here that the people of this secret society are going to go to Wakanda and ask them to keep their city a secret. At the end of the first Black Panther movie, they went ahead and started sharing the Wakanda technology with the world, and apparently one of the technologies they shared went ahead and made Namor society visible to the general public, where people are starting to want to go there. I guess that's where the big war between them goes. It's like, we're also a secret society with advanced technology, and we had the responsibility to keep it to ourselves, and now you're just letting the world use your tech? We don't like that. But I throw it off to you guys. What do you think about Namor getting his origin change for the MCU? This is now like the third, fourth character that gets a major origin change in the MCU. And also keep in mind, Namor's origin has been changed a couple of times in the comics. He went from just being an Atlantean to then becoming the world's first mutant. Do you think you could get on board with this origin? Or are you upset that MCU won't have an Atlantis? But that is all the movie news we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.